Now, Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg punched back against senators on this point. He said that Facebook has evolved over the years to the point it is now central to U.S. elections. Without Facebook, elections basically could not go on. Take a listen.
We estimate that we've helped more than 4.4 million people register to vote, and 100,000 people volunteer to be poll workers.
The heart of these social media platforms' power is a little-known provision. It's called Section 230, legislation at the very core of these social media platforms' existence. It defines what they're allowed to do, what their users are allowed to do, and whose fault it is when things go pear-shaped. Now, Bill, essentially the big takeaway from all three tech execs this morning is that what they don't want is to be responsible for the content that is posted by their users, all the billions of them around the world. But at the same time, they also want to keep the power in-house to take down or block those posts when they believe that they violate the platform's rules. Where I come from, we call that wanting to have your cake and eat it too, Bill.
Let's bring in the senator who might agree with that. Thank you, Jillian Turner. Nice to see you.
Bet.
Republican Roger Wicker out of Mississippi ran the Commerce Committee hearing today. Senator, good afternoon to you.
Hey, Bill. Glad to be on.
What answers did you get today?
Well, we lacked answers. We cited example after example of anti-conservative bias, and even a number of examples where Twitter puts up posts from the Ayatollah, from the Chinese Communist Party, making outlandish claims. The Ayatollah advocating jihad against Israel, Communist China saying that it was the United States military that caused the COVID-19 crisis instead of the other way around. And yet Twitter lets that stay up. And after several senators brought these examples up, really our three witnesses didn't have much of an answer to that.
Well, Senator, the story that really kicked this off was the blocking of the New York Post sharing that story on Hunter Biden, correct? And since that time, their feed's been cut off for 2 weeks. Go ahead.
Well, and in that case, it was telling. If you go back and listen to what Mr. Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, said, he said that was a mistake. We were wrong to do that. And if the New York Post will just go back and go through a couple of hoops, they can actually retweet that and post it. But here's one thing that was telling to me. Twitter and Facebook both said they had no information and no basis to claim that this Hunter Biden story was a result of Russian disinformation. I think, that was an answer to a question by Senator Ron Johnson. And to me, it debunks a lot of the things we're hearing on the mainstream media today. When you tune in at 7 a.m., there's no mention at all about this Hunter Biden story, and the excuse they're giving
just to be clear,
this is Russian disinformation.
I thought what Dorsey said is if the Post goes back and deletes a particular tweet, they'll reopen the accounts. But isn't that the tweet that contains the story about Hunter Biden in the first place, Senator?
Well, I think they're standing on ceremony there. I think they will let the story out. But the main thing is they admit this is not a matter of Russian disinformation, and I hope the mainstream media will look at that testimony and be a little more forthcoming, like Fox News Channel has been, and let the American people hear the story, hear about the computer and the tweets and the testimony that your channel had on last night on the Tucker Carlson
the question ultimately here is censorship, and that's what you were trying to get at today, and we'll see where it goes. I know there's a section of the law that gives them immunity. We'll see whether or not that stands in time. Senator, thank you for your time today.
Roger, thank you for having me.
You bet. Thanks for coming on today. Air Force One just touched down in Arizona, bringing that rally in a moment. Right now, I want to bring in Martha McCallum, anchor